Okay, what I'll do now is I will I'll talk first about the macroeconomy, the recent performance of the macroeconomy, and much of the performance of the macroeconomy also owes its performance to our efficient central bank, highly performing central bank. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. So the macroeconomy first, and I'll go down to the central Visayas region, and then to Bohol in terms of the projects that we are implementing, the major game-changing projects we are implementing. Okay. Of course, I want to thank the organizers of this forum. So, the performance of the macroeconomy can be summarized into 3 points. First, over the past 3.5 decades, our economy has been on an upward growth trajectory, and especially sharp over the last 8 years. The Philippines is one of the best performing economies in the region at 6.8% growth rate in the first quarter of 2018, after India 7.7%, Vietnam 7.4%, and at par with China, and better than Indonesia's 5.1%. Second point about the macroeconomy. The macroeconomy is also undergoing structural transformation as growth is increasingly driven by investments, not just by consumption. Our economy used to be considered a consumption-driven economy. Now it's increasingly being driven by investments on the demand side of the economy and by the industry sector, manufacturing in particular, relative to the service sector. Our economy was also known before as a service sector-driven economy, but now it's increasingly driven by industry, especially manufacturing. In other words, the sources of economic growth has broadened and diversified. A third point is that our economy's total factor productivity has risen sharply, and it's now the highest in ASEAN at close to 3% per annum. And this is important because it's not just capital and labor that's behind our economic growth, but capital, labor combined with technology. That's why it's called total factor productivity. So these 3 points I just mentioned suggest that the economic development of the country is sustainable and capable of generating quality and gainful jobs, and also reducing poverty. We are also witnessing, as I already pointed out earlier, a resurgence of our manufacturing sector, growing at 8.6% in 2017 and sustaining that growth in the first quarter of 2018. The volume of production index, the blue line there, the blue line is the volume of production index, and the red line going down and up is the value of production index. That's a measure of the performance of the manufacturing sector. It is also worthy of note that all 17 regions posted positive economic growth, has been posting positive economic growth. 9 regions posted growth, an economic growth higher than the National Capital Region's economic growth of 6.1%. The Cordillera Autonomous Region, or CAR, which is whose capital is Baguio, had the highest GRDP, gross regional domestic product growth rate of 12.1% in 2017, followed by Davao region of close to 11% and Central Luzon at 9.3%. While the macroeconomy appears robust, inequality across households and regions remain, and chronic poverty persists. This is our biggest challenge. And this was also mentioned by the, Governor Chato and Governor Nesting Espinilla. Regions with lower regional per capita income have had higher poverty incidence. This slide also shows the inequality even more. The country's gross domestic product or GDP remains concentrated in a mega urban industrial region comprising the National Capital Region or Metro Manila, Calabarzon, and the Central Luzon region, which collectively account for close to 2/3 of total GDP. Central Visayas accounts for, contributes 6.4% GRDP growth rate, accounting for as the fourth largest share of GDP of the economy. This huge disparity, this egregious disparity across regions, really calls for a determined, resolute, strong regional and rural development strategy. And this is the principal thrust of the Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022. We are guided by the Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022, PDP for short, the administration's blueprint for change. This is a product of a series of interagency consultations at the national and local levels, including consultations with the various social sectors and stakeholders across the country. So this is not a NEDA plan, this is not the plan of the President alone, this is the plan of the people of the Philippines. The PDP is anchored on the President's 0 to 10-point socio-economic agenda. This is how the administration started. We started with a 10-point, 11-point socio-economic agenda, 0 being peace and order, corruption, smuggling, and these are the things that the President has been focusing on. And this is designed, the Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022 is designed to be the first of 4 Philippine development plans geared towards the realization of the ambition natin 2040, when we expect that poverty will be at 0 and everybody will be enjoying a much better life. Not only life, but also work-life balance. The Philippine Development Plan also espouses a national spatial strategy, which sets out our growth direction across the regions and provinces and cities and municipalities. Cities are considered engines of economic growth. We still need to deliver necessary infrastructure to provide efficient connective networks of sustainable urban and rural communities. This is woefully lacking. This is what we really need for, especially if we're going into federalism. We need to connect the regions first. We need to develop the regions, make them stronger so that they can be on their own and they are well connected with other regions and with the mainstream economy. Among the key measures of the National Spatial Strategy is regional and rural development to address the sharp inequality across regions, at the same time It also aims to solve the congestion woes of Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, Metro Davao, and other urban centers. Recognizing that cities and provinces have different comparative advantages, the NEDA advocates dispersal of development that results in agglomeration economies, not diseconomies. Now let me now go to the Central Visayas region. For regional and rural development to happen, the regional development councils all over the country spearheaded the formulation of their respective regional development plans, or RDPs. Serving as the region's socio-economic blueprint, the RDP contains the overall development framework of each region in the medium term. It includes sectoral and spatial strategies, strategic interventions, and priority programs that support the attainment of goals and objectives of the Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022. Likewise, regional development plans address development concerns of the respective regions. In the Regional Development Plan of Central Visayas 2017 to 2022, the region aims to lay down the foundation for inclusive growth, a high-trust society, a high-trust and resilient society, and a globally competitive knowledge economy. This goal will be achieved through regional development plan strategies, referred to as the three major pillars of increasing public trust in government, reducing inequality in access to development opportunities, and attaining high and sustainable economic growth. All this will be achieved with a strong foundation of peace and security, strong infrastructure development, and a sustainable environment. We need to spread development throughout the region so that they all become part of the mainstream economy. This slide shows the distribution of infrastructure projects under the Public Investment Program 2017 to 2022 across the regions. There are 128 infrastructure projects planned to be implemented in the Central Visayas region under this administration. Among these projects, among the projects included in the Public Investment Program 2017-2022 are the Bohol Northeast Basin Multipurpose Project. These are the game-changing projects, major game-changing projects, apart from the projects already detailed by the Governor in his presentation. Of course, the new Bohol Panglao International Airport, which should be seeing operation in a month or so. The Bohol Leyte Link Bridge project and the Cebu-Bohol Link Bridge. These link bridges, these are major bridges, and they have already undergone feasibility studies funded by the Asian Development Bank. So the next would be processing of these studies. Further evaluation of the viability and the promise and the social and economic returns of these projects. The regional spatial strategy of Central Visayas consists of three components: agglomeration by directing growth to key urban centers, connectivity, and vulnerability reduction. Under agglomeration, we intend to build on the efficiencies and maximize the benefits of scale and agglomeration economies. Metro Cebu is expected to serve as the metropolitan center for the whole of the Visayas region, and you all know that already. And that's the capital of the Central Visayas region. Under connectivity, the region aims to integrate and interconnect the provincial economies into a region-wide network of production, processing, marketing, and trading. And in terms of vulnerability reduction, The region's location and geographic landscape make it vulnerable to two types of hazards: liquefaction and rain-induced landslide. Other hazards include sea level rise, storm surges, and floods. The regional spatial strategy intends to address the region's vulnerability by, among others, delineating areas for protection and conservation, identifying areas of population highly vulnerable to hazards and climate change, and providing interventions to minimize the impact of disasters. The Philippine Development Plan and the Central Visayas Region Plan highlight the potential of the Central Visayas region in the information technology and business process outsourcing, business process management, tourism, construction industry, and manufacturing industries, among others. Let's take a look at closer look at the growth drivers for the region. In terms of service growth drivers, as you know, the services sector accounts for 56% of the Central Visayas economy. Tourism and travel are among the growth drivers of the region, with Bohol, Cebu, and Siquijor experiencing higher influx of tourists in 2016 and subsequent years. As indicated in the figure, visitor arrivals, the blue is those are the foreign arrivals, foreign visitor arrivals, and the lower pink, the orange-colored part of the slide is these are the local domestic tourists. So visitor arrivals ballooned over the period 2011 to 2015, reaching 4.6 million in 2015. We are still going to get the later numbers for tourist arrivals. And they seem to be pretty good, because as of the first semester of this year, the tourist arrivals to the Philippines in general has already reached 11% growth, with the Chinese fast catching up with the Korean tourists coming to the Philippines. Prospects for increased tourist arrivals are high due to the global and domestic markets. Improvement and construction projects of airports and ports in each province, and the implementation of the National Tourism Development Plan. Regarding information technology and business process management, or IT/BPM sector, this is another growth driver for the service sector. Prospects for continued growth in the sector are high given investor interest, heightened industry, academe, and government partnerships, and the national plan of DTI, Department of Trade, to scale up the industry, the IT/BPM industry. Bohol will also develop its new business IT parks. Regarding industry growth drivers, Central Visayas industry sector accounted for 7.4% of the country's gross value added in industry. Gross value added is simply the additional output from industry added to GDP. Central Visayas ranked 4th after the National Capital Region, Calabarzon, and Central Luzon in terms of growth drivers. The manufacturing and construction subsectors each employed between 297,000 and more than 305,000 people respectively in 2015. The construction sector is expecting robust growth given the government's increased spending on big-ticket infrastructure projects. Property development is also expected to to expand due to urbanization. In terms of agriculture, overall growth of agriculture, hunting, forestry, and fishing sector has been rather slow and anemic. Central Visayas, nevertheless, is one of the regions with a better than average performance in terms of agriculture and the other subsectors of agriculture. The agriculture sector accounted for 6.4% of the regional economy during the period 2011 to 2017, with average growth of 1.3% when the national agricultural sector growth rate was barely 1%. Mango, cabbage, seaweed, goat, and hog are among the top products of the region. Let me end with the growth prospects of the Central Visayas region. Okay, we have a slide there. The GVA simply means, as I already said, gross value added, and gross value added is what's added to the GDP. Economic growth in Central Visayas will be driven mostly by the industry and services sectors. We can expect these sectors to grow at an average annual growth rate of close to 10% and close to more than 7% respectively. So industry growing faster than the services sector from 2017 to 2022. We are targeting to keep unemployment rate in Central Visayas at between 3.7 and 4% on average. We will seek to reduce poverty from 27.6% in 2015 to 21.7% in 2022. As far as the national poverty reduction target is concerned, we are targeting to reduce poverty from 21.6% in 2015 to 14% by 2022. So, daghang salamat kaninyong tanan, mabuhi ang Bohol.